In the countryside of a small European state, cousins Miles and Ryan were two active 14-year-old boys who had the night alone as their parents attended a wedding. They tend to be pretty independent and had no need for a babysitter. And so, they spent their night playing video games on the PlayStation. 3 hours into it, they eventually get bored. It was beginning to get dark outside, and Miles decided it would be a good idea to invite Ryan to use the Randonautica app to look around in the nearby woods. It was twilight when they started their trek. They go deep into the woods when the skies became gloomy all of a sudden. The rumbling of thunder in the distance pointed to possible rain. They try to run to find cover as it got dark. Fortunately for them, Randonautica points them to a structure in the distance. They run towards it. As they grow closer, Ryan tells Miles that he has a bad feeling about this. They turn on their flashlights now. It looks like a dilapidated old orphanage. The walls are mossy and it looks like a pre-war structure. Ryan complains that the house smells rotten. Miles dismisses it and tells him, of course, they're in the forest, things die there. As the rain falls outside, Miles and Ryan take turns telling each other scary stories, lighting their faces with flashlights as they spin creepy tales of ghosts and serial killers. As they're busy doing this, they are interrupted by the sound of footsteps. They stand up. "Who's there?" Ryan says. No one responds. Miles says, "Maybe it's just our imagine..." He's interrupted. "What are you doing here?" shouts a hoarse woman's voice. They aim their flashlight forward and see a dirty, haggard woman with red eyes and long hair and fingernails rushing towards them. "Get out!" she screams. She runs towards the boys and they scream and try to run away. She's shouting the name Frank as she lunges forward. She gets Miles by the shirt as they both fall to the ground. She pulls him closer and grabs his arm, her fingernails digging deep into his skin. As he tries to pull away, her fingernail creates a long, jagged wound. Ryan tried to pull Miles away, but he's interrupted by the imposing figure of Frank, a giant of a man standing behind him, his glassy red eyes staring down on the boy. He looks disoriented and spaced out. Everyone basically stopped and just looked at him, including the woman. Miles manages to stand up, basically pissing himself at this point. "Hey, do you have any Coke?" Frank asks. Ryan shakes his head, but Miles says yes. Ryan stares at Miles in disbelief. Miles fakes confidence. "Of course we do, but we finished the ones we brought here, so if you want, since you allowed us to stay in your place, we'll just go home and get you some." Frank thinks about it. There's a tense silence. "You sure, bro? I mean, we can share." Miles smiles. "Sure, I would love to. Just give us a few minutes to get home, and we'll give it to you." "Yeah," Frank says. They move away slowly. Then they start to walk away. Ryan trips and falls. As he raises his head, he tries not to scream. He tripped on a decomposing human corpse. The corpse had a long gash on his neck. It looks like it was slit. This was the source of the smell. Miles sees it, looks back at the two and gives them a thumbs up, and they go into the forest. They walk away now, the two druggies seen in the window staring at them. Then the woman just runs after them. "Hey!" Ryan wants to run, but Miles stops him. Miles smiles and says, "Yeah? I know where you live. You better give it to us or we will kill you. Okay?" "Of course," Ryan says. "We're not liars," Miles replies, crossing his fingers behind his back. The woman calms down and goes back inside. looking at them expectantly. They make a run for it. They run as fast and as carefully as they can. Eventually, the boys make it out of the forest and back home. They immediately report it to the police. The decomposed body was that of another druggie friend was discovered. These two were clearly violent, and Ryan and Miles only narrowly escaped. The two were never caught. At night, Ryan hears tapping on the windows, and when it rains outside, he could swear he could see two shadows outside. Maybe they are still there, just waiting for the right time to strike.